Have you ever been deathly afraid of something and even dreaded the thought of doing it? Most people have gone through something like this. For me, my biggest fear was shots and vaccines, especially when I was younger. Now, many people have an aversion to shots and vaccines and don't like getting them, but I think I take the crown in this subject. I had an indescribable fear of shots. I tried avoiding going to doctor's appointments at all costs, whether it was faking being sick, coming up with fake things I needed to do to get my parents to forget about the doctor's appointments, anything my young mind could really come up with. I would sit the whole day, the days that I had doctor's appointments where I was getting shots, just with a ball, a knot in my stomach. It felt like I swallowed lead. It was the most uncomfortable feeling in my entire life. Whenever my mom would come get me from school or pick me up from home, wherever I was, that we had to go get shots, the car rides were the most uncomfortable things ever. I would whine about how I didn't actually need the shot. The shot wasn't that important, even if it was a life-saving vaccine. It did not matter. For me, it was life or death. I needed to get out of this shot. I would whine the entire way to the doctor's office. Let's just say our patients were running really thin when we were going to the doctor's office. When we got to the waiting room, like the outside one, before we see the nurses, I would just sit there silently, stone cold. I wouldn't even respond to my mom if she asked me questions. I was irritated, so I would just sit there, act like I was a statue. And then we would have to go into the actual back of the doctor's office where there's the nurses and they ask you all the questions and stuff. During the questionnaires, I would do nothing. I would just look to my mom to answer the questions, and I would just sit there with a scowl on my face. This really irritated my mom. She was like, look, just answer the questions. I wouldn't answer because I was mad. But then the nurse who was actually going to give the shot would come in, and that's when it all went down. They would bring in the needles, and right behind the nurse with the needles, there was 3 other nurses because they knew I was going to need it. And so, as soon as I needed the shot, they would just grab, 3 of the nurses would grab me, my mom would grab me, and we'd just hold me down. I would kick, I would scream, I would yell, I'd fall on the ground, just go limp so I would ruin the shot. I would do whatever I could just to make the shot go away. But I'd always have to get the shot. Never failed. I would always have to get the shot. One of the main instances where this whole amazing reaction came into play was when I was younger. We were in Outer Banks for our vacation, and 2 days went by completely fine. There were no problems at all. And then on the second day's night, I got really, really bad stomach pains, like extreme stomach pains. And I was throwing up, and I just couldn't get to sleep and anything, and it just got worse in the morning. So my parents talked to my grandmother, who used to be a nurse, and she was like, yeah, you should probably go get him checked. It's probably something pretty bad with the pain he's in. So my parents took me in a long, uncomfortable car ride to the emergency room. When we got there, we told the doctors and the nurses what was going on. They said that they were guessing it was probably something like appendicitis. So they needed to go run some tests. It would be quick, easy, no big deal. If everything was all right, they'd send me home. Turns out I did have appendicitis, and I was really close to bursting. And when appendix bursts, it lets loose a lot of fluid in your stomach that you really don't want in there. And so they really don't want it to burst. Luckily, mine was not bursting yet. So what they needed to do is they needed to operate on me. They needed to do surgery. And with surgery, it requires anesthesia, and anesthesia requires an IV. An IV is a mini shot you put in your arm, and this mini shot just lets them put a medicine straight in your bloodstream so it works faster. But my parents knew that an IV was not going to be a good idea for me. So as we were walking back into the little room where they insert the IVs, my dad made a big deal about it. He's like, we need like 4 nurses in here. We need 4 nurses in here. I'll help hold him down, but we're going to need a lot of people in here to help hold him down and just restrain him. And so as the shot came up and they told me I needed an IV, I was pretty okay with it. I was really tired, so I was just like, that's fine. And then the needle came in, and I was a little uncomfortable. But overall, I just let them do the IV. It wasn't that big of a problem, but I was already in a ton of pain. My dad was so embarrassed. He was like, oh, shoot, I just made a big deal about nothing. He did a great job. He didn't even react to the IV. But it turned out I was just in so much pain, and I was so sleep-deprived and tired, like I barely even registered that I was getting an IV. Operation went fine, and we went back to our vacation. Another instance of this fear that I had, it was when I was in middle school. My allergies really kicked in, like extreme allergies. My eyes would puff up, and it was just really bad. And so my mom was like, yeah, we need to go get something treated because the Zyrtec and Claritin was not working. So my mom took us to the doctor's office. I didn't really expect anything out of this visit, so it was just kind of a normal day. And then they told me I needed an allergy test. And I don't know if you guys know what an allergy test is, but the one they ran on me, I had to lay on my stomach for an hour where they did little pricks in my back with just different allergens and just to see what I was allergic to. Now, this didn't really bother me because the pricks weren't that bad and I didn't really know what they were. I just knew I needed to lay on my stomach and they were going to do something on my back. And I just watched Shrek the entire time, so I was pretty chill with it. So after we sat there, my back started getting uncomfortable, and then when the tests were done, we had to sit in the waiting room while they ran the test and saw what I was allergic to. So they came back and they said I was allergic to every treat you could possibly be allergic to, which was not good. And I was also allergic to some animals and some like food and stuff and some medicines, but overall it was the trees and the plants that was the big problem. And so their solution, because it was so severe and so many allergens, I needed to get allergy shots. Now, allergy shots were a no-go for me. I did not want to do them at all. I begged and whined to my mom. I was in middle school. I was still begging and whining. I was begging and whining to my mom. I was like, Mom, we don't need shots. They're not that big of a deal. I'll just take double the Claritin. I'll take whatever I need to. It'll be fine. Just no shots. And she's like, Logan, you're going to have to do the shots. It's the best way to treat it. That's what we're going to have to do. She's like, I did shots for most of my adult life. I needed allergy shots. She's like, I'm fine now. Maybe you'll be fine after a little bit of doing allergy shots. That was okay for me. I was like, okay, Mom, if it takes only a couple times, maybe we'll try it. So we had to sign up for weekly allergy shots. We had to come in every Thursday and get allergy shots. And so the first couple times I made a big deal about it. I was like, I don't want to do this stupid, complaining, normal teen anger. And then it just developed into an uncomfortable thing I had to do every Thursday. And eventually it just wore off. I just didn't really bother. It was just annoying that I had to go to the doctor's office. But the shots I wasn't really worried about. I was just more annoyed that I had to go to the doctor's office. And so the fear eventually ebbed. And I really wasn't worried about the fear anymore. And this kind of really taught me something about life. If you have a fear and you're really worried about it, I say just face it head on. Because what's the worst that could happen? You're fearful for a couple minutes, however long it takes, whatever you're fearful of, and then it goes away. You learn to grow, and you move past it. And I really think this is a lesson that we can all take away from this. I feel that if we really face our fears, and if we go head on with them, we'll learn that they're not that big of a deal, and we can really easily push past them. Thank you very much.